This episode of Southeast Iowa Today is brought to you by Griner Auto Body of Washington, Iowa, using state-of-the-art techniques and decades of experience to get your car back on the road after an accident. Car Doctor of Washington, Iowa. No matter who Frankensteined it, they can fix it, clean it, and customize it. McDonald Boneyard of Keota, Iowa, for all your farm equipment and auto recycling needs. For great food, it's your choice. Your Choice Family Restaurant of Wayland, Iowa. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Come to our cruise-ins this summer on the second Tuesday of the month, June through September. Girling Repair of Winfield, Iowa. If your mower is dead, call Fred, your Husqvarna, Aaron's, and Gravely dealer. Fred also fixes and sells snowblowers. B&B Propane and the family of Jet Stops. Dutch Market and Coffee Talk of Washington, Iowa. Dutch Market can handle all of your grocery needs. They even have a conference room you can use for free. Coffee Talk's drive-thru is open and ready to serve you coffee, energy drinks, sandwiches, baked goods, and ice cream. They all present you the award-winning Southeast Iowa Today. Here's the author of Christie's Journey, The Beat Goes On, and your host, John Bain.
Thank you, announcer Cody Roy of NewEnglandDukes.com. for your golden pipes and wonderful introduction. Today I am at Jim Baier, the dealership for Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Ford. They got a lot of them. And today we're going for a ride in this 2024 electric Dodge Charger. Wait until you see what this car can do, ladies and gentlemen. You know, if you watch this podcast on a regular basis, you know I'm a car guy. You know I like that muscle power of a V8. There's my daily driver right there. And I also own a 1970 Dodge Charger. And Alan Hecht is going to take us for a ride and show us around. Alan is a good car buddy of mine, friend of mine, and he's old school as much as probably you are, or even more. But there's a lot that we can learn from this new school car. Alan, thank you so much for showing us the 2024 Dodge Charger. What exactly is this called?
Well, it's the Charger Daytona Scat Pack with the track package.
Awesome.
Yeah, really impressive car.
All right, show us around.
So probably one of the most interesting components of this car that I found, they call it the R-Wing. It's at the front of the vehicle. And I don't know if you can see, but this is actually a pass-through.
Yes.
So the air comes down and over the car.
So that really makes it aerodynamic.
Yeah, very signature look for this car. And of course, Dodge people will notice if you've owned anything in the 60s, that's the Fratzog logo, which was first introduced for Dodge in 1962 on the Dodge Polara 500. And it was used all the way up until 1976.
So it's definitely a heritage.
Most definitely, because that symbol, that logo was abandoned in 76, but brought back by Dodge for the new EV car.
Now, I've got to tell the folks that are watching this podcast, when they're looking at that right now, it looks like it's flashing on my screen. It's a solid bright light, and I did zoom in on it, so it shows that I didn't want them to think that it was flashing.
Yeah, and one of the things you and I talked about is how much they captured the heritage, you know, the nod. There's cues in this car to the 66 and 67 Charger, but there's also cues from the body style you and I really like, 68, 69, and 70.
There sure is.
And it's impressive. And a lot of people have said they're really happy that it's come back to being a two-door.
That is incredible. That is incredible that it's a two-door. And I understand they're going to be available in four-door for the folks that like four-door.
Correct. That's on the drawing board for them. Back end of the car, absolutely stunning. They've done just a great job.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And wait a minute, what's that sound?
That's the exhaust, John.
Exhaust? How do you have exhaust on an electric car?
So it's the Fratzonic chambered exhaust system, which essentially gives you and I the feeling that we've got a gas engine, we've got the sound, we've got the rumble, but you can let this sit in the garage. There's no emissions.
That's cool. Now, hey, can you pop open this back to show the hint
Yeah, I
for
think
the
I can.
66 and 67
Yep,
Chargers?
and I might need, I think I'm going to grab the key fob.
Okay. I think people are going to get a kick out of this because look at that.
Yeah. They've done an incredible job, and those seats fold down, so you've actually got the ability, if you need to carry cargo, you can fold the seats down.
My wife, Andrea, she's looking at this right now and saying, I could put a bunch of mulch in there.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's just an impressive car.
It really is. I can't wait to go for a ride in it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. What else should we show people while we're sitting here safe and sound in the parking lot?
Oh, possibly the front of the car.
Okay.
Let's go back up front.
Yeah.
So this is a little different. This would normally be where you're going to find the engine.
Wow.
And instead you've got just a little bit of cargo area, some things you're familiar with like washer fluid.
Yes.
And then a whole bunch of electric stuff that I know absolutely nothing about, but I'm sure we'll get really good at over the next
we got some
next
brake fluid.
Yeah.
But yeah, this other stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably not something that Shade Tree Mechanics in the
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But yeah, just an impressive car and new technology in a world that you and I are kind of unfamiliar with, but mysteriously intrigued by.
Exactly. And you know, I look at this and I look at all this space and I'm thinking that'll fit a Hemi.
Well, and you know, again, like I mentioned to you earlier, I love the body style of the car, and I think it's safe to say that Dodge will continue to use this platform and to grow it, hopefully with, obviously they've already got plans for the Hurricane 6-cylinder in it.
Right.
But of course, I think the day you and I see the Hemi back in it, that'll be a good day too.
That'll be definitely a good day, and
yeah.
And there's a lot going on here. We're in the 21st century, and technology is constantly evolving faster than anybody can really keep up with it.
Yeah.
And this is part of the future.
Yep, sure is.
All right, well, let's go take a ride.
Okay.
Can you do me a favor and do what loyal viewers like Sue and Holly up in Comanche do? And that is give this episode a like and make sure to follow and subscribe. It's free. Alan, we are sitting in the 2024 Charger Daytona Scat Pack Track Package electric car.
Yes, and I'll tell you, I've been in the auto industry now for over 3 decades, and it is just amazing to me how cars have evolved. And it seems like in the last few years, you've got this leap of technology where even those of us who've been in the industry for a long time, we're really having to go through and figure out the new dynamic and where the whole industry is headed. And here you are in a vehicle literally with no engine.
Yeah, it's incredible. And we're sitting here, it's on as far as that goes. And I don't know if our microphones will pick it up, but my ears and my cochlear implant processor is picking up the sound of an engine, of a V8.
Yep.
And so we know that this thing is on.
Yeah.
And tell folks what that sound is, basically.
So it's the Fratsonic chambered exhaust sound.
Okay.
So what they've done is basically you've got a sound system under the rear bumper. And if you notice here on the dash, we've got it just in automatic mode, but watch what happens even if you change it to track. It's changed the sound. And even with throttle input, you can hear what to all of us is exhaust.
Right.
Yeah.
Now there's somebody, or lots of somebodies right now that are laughing at us and saying, you guys are a couple of goofs. There's nothing good about this. You can't call it a muscle car. It's ridiculous to have that noise. Right. And all of this other stuff that I'm sure they're saying, you could have had a V8. What the heck's going on? Internal combustion engines are the only way to go to feel true muscle and the being on the ragged edge of disaster and ecstasy as you drive, and you're just not going to get that in this electric car.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that's a fooler on this one, and I'm with you, because you and I are both purists from the muscle car era,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and to me it's V8 and 4-barrel and dual exhaust, and that's what a true muscle car or performance car is. But this is on a league of its own, and I guess what it's proven to me is I must be an eternal car guy, because I'm even impressed with something that is totally different, totally unconventional, and I'm curious enough to want to know more about it.
You and me both. I think that's a good thing. That means we're not getting old yet.
Well,
and you know, the other thing,
right.
Another thing I think about is all the guys that have internal combustion engine cars.
Yeah.
Every one of them is doing something to it.
Yeah.
To soup it up, to make it different. On my 70 Dodge Charger, I've got throttle body fuel injection.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And somebody's gonna say, "Well, that's not stock." Well, no, it's not. But
right.
It makes the car run better.
Oh, it does. It does.
And you know, I can't wait. I mean, that sound. Another thing, we were talking off camera before we started this,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, even all those things that I mentioned that the purists are upset about, it makes sense to have some sound with a car, with an electric vehicle that doesn't have an engine that has exhaust that makes a sound, because there's people and drivers and motorcycles, everybody around you that don't hear you unless you're making a noise.
So true. And that, you know, in the early adoption phase of the electric vehicles, that was something all the manufacturers were very conscientious about is the safety aspect. And you're right. It's just like an electric golf cart coming up on you.
Yeah.
You don't hear it.
No, and if it crashes into you, it's too late.
That's true. That's true.
You know, and all those Harley riders, they say loud pipes save lives.
Right. That is true.
So one thing about this, even though it's a speaker, it's making some noise.
Yeah. Well, we'll take it, I think, on the drive. We'll do a little bit of quiet drive at the beginning.
Okay.
Then we'll go on the road that I talked about, and we can go through some of the changes on the screen, and you can listen to the pitch change, and not only that, the personality of the car, and then we'll do a rolling start, hopefully 5 to 65 mile an hour launch at the end of our little road down there.
I'm looking forward to it. Now, we are currently at 4 minutes and 35 seconds, what I will call podcast excellence.
Perfect.
So we're going to wrap this segment up, and then next time the folks will see us cruising down the road.
Perfect.
I hope you like this episode as much as Neil and Larry do in Wayland, and if so, do what they do. Give this episode a like, and make sure to follow and subscribe. It's free. Okay, Alan, we are going to do a little testing.
Yep.
I can't wait.
We'll do a little rolling start.
Okay.
Once the traffic clears out here.
And this has got a lot of torque, and I'm going to try and zoom in to that speedometer so that folks at home can count how long it takes us to get up to speed. So we're rolling at 16 miles per hour. Whoa! That was awesome. It made me shut the recorder off.
I love it.
I was trying to keep that camera on the speedometer, and my head's throwing back to the seat. I mean, this is like your best roller coaster ride at Disney World.
Yeah, and it's very controlled. I don't know if you heard, but you got a little bit of tire chirp.
Yeah.
But nothing crazy. You know, you think about, again,
we can't even call it a second gear chirp.
No, because it never went into second gear.
No.
But you know, compared to a muscle car in the 60s,
oh yeah,
the one thing about them is this car hooks up. It's all-wheel drive. It's got tons of technology. And yeah, it's fun to do a smoky burnout, but at the end of the day, it's all about getting power
to the wheels.
And once you get them down to the road, it's a game changer in this car.
Right. You don't have to put shackles on this, do you?
No, it's pretty impressive.
Very impressive. My goodness. I mean, this is just a whole different enjoyment.
Oh yeah, it's
such a smooth ride too.
Yep. It is a smooth ride. You can tell it's a car that is easy to drive even on long distance, and it's impressive.
Now, when we did that launch, that rolling launch,
Mhm.
were we in the track mode?
Yeah, I
Okay.
put it in track mode, gives you a little bit more noise.
Yeah. And now we're in auto.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and auto is very docile, very quiet, very little rolling resistance. It just kind of coats up, basically driving it just like a conventional car would.
Right.
But it is an interesting car that it does change the personality. And one of the things I noticed immediately is like in the drag mode, when you shift it to drag mode, it gets loud, but when I take my foot off, it really slows down. I mean, it almost comes to a complete stop on its own.
Right.
With a lot more noise.
I love it.
And
then you just shut the noise off.
Yeah, and just put it back in auto. We'll get over these train tracks gently.
I want to try and describe this for people that are watching. I mean, when you put that into the drag mode and we're going down, you could just feel all the torque winding up or bounding up, ready to pounce.
And track is oddly similar noise, not quite as aggressive on the decel.
Right.
But
and I have to say, the Fratzonic, it's fooled me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm in a V8 right now.
Yeah, exactly. And sport mode's probably a nice balance of both. You know, I mentioned when you and I were driving earlier that sport mode is probably what you and I would leave it in a lot because it gives you a little bit of noise, a little bit of decel, but it's not aggressive. Those two settings are really aggressive.
They are, and I'll tell you, my 2019 Dodge Charger that I drive every day, except in the winter time because it's rear-wheel drive. But if I had a new Charger that was all-wheel drive, I guess I would always drive it. But my point on that is I always leave it in the sport mode anyway.
Yes, there you go.
When I drive.
Yeah.
I like the feel of it that it gives and the handling. And we're kind of going on we're kind of on a back road. Yeah, we're on a back road. And it's bumpy, but it's not teeth-rattling bumpy at all. This is just a smooth ride.
Yeah.
I guess we have to attribute that probably to the weight of this car.
Yes.
It's what, 6,300 pounds?
Yes, that's what you don't even think of, you know, is ride quality does come a lot with just the fact that there's so much weight and long wheelbase, nice size car.
Yeah.
Just a fun car to drive and easy car to live with. Even got the wet/snow mode.
Right.
So obviously with an all-wheel drive, I mean, let's face it, we live in Iowa. Yep. It's a little different than buying the conventional rear-wheel drive muscle car of any of the brands of, you know, you could say yesteryear or even current day. You've got the ability to, you know, if you're coming back from somewhere and it starts snowing, you're probably going to get home. It's going to be okay.
And you're going to get home with how many horsepower in this?
670 is what this one is rated at.
670 horsepower.
Yeah.
My 2019 5.7 liter Hemi Dodge V8 is rated at 375 horsepower. And quite honestly, that's enough.
Yeah.
So this is incredible. This is your steak, your baked potato.
That's true.
You know, all of it.
It is. It is.
And you know, I've ridden in hybrids before, and cars that you know, they shut off and go into the E mode.
Yeah.
They got nothing on this car.
Yeah.
Now I haven't been in a Tesla, so you folks that are out there that say the Tesla models, hey, I'm not knocking them. I just haven't been in one, but I've been in Toyotas and a couple others and Fords, and this blows them off the road.
Yep. Yeah, it's a pretty impressive car.
Yes, it is. Okay, you just push the button for track mode.
Yep.
All right. We're going to do this again.
Yeah, this is kind of fun.
It is fun.
I like this.
This is awesome. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity for this experience and also my audience.
Oh, my pleasure. You know, one of the things about it, even 30 years in the industry, you can tell, you know me well enough. You know, I have a passion for cars and I like all of them. And even this one that's so unconventional, in my opinion, is still quite a bit fun to drive.
Yes, it is. Okay, here's the speedometer at 16, 17 miles per hour. I'm going to put my head back. There we go. Wow. I didn't count how long that was, but you folks at home, hopefully you did. One thing I did do, Alan, was I put my head back in the seat first this time.
You're learning.
Usually I'm driving, in these situations.
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is, it's one of those things, the whole concept of EVs.
Yeah.
A lot of us just don't want to ram down our throat.
Yeah, and I think over time, you're going to watch the industry evolve and embrace some things and not embrace others. But I think these have a spot and a purpose in the car history.
They definitely do.
And I think you're going to get more and more people that say, you know what, this would fit into what I'm doing. And again, we talked about it. Range anxiety is probably one of the toughest things to overcome, because in conservative Southeast Iowa, we're not necessarily the first ones to adopt new technology, but we also live 40, 50, 60 miles from wherever our destination is.
Right.
And so from a travel standpoint, not having necessarily always the infrastructure of charging stations, I can see where that's a legitimate concern, but it can also be overcome, and it makes a great commuter back and forth to work if you've got the ability to charge both places.
Right. And one of the things that I try to have an open mind, and the older I get, the harder it is sometimes to be that way. But one of the things when I was talking about this to different people is the fact that, you go back 110 years ago, and when the automobile was first really becoming, popular and a mainstay, there weren't gas stations on every block.
Nope.
I mean, there was really no real infrastructure for gas. People were buying gasoline sometimes at a pharmacy.
Yeah.
That's
true.
So what we're doing here, folks, for the ones that are old enough to have lived in the 20th century and now live in the 21st century, we're like those folks in the early 1900s.
Yep, very true.
The difference, I think, is going to be, though, that in the 21st century, I think we're going to have both.
Yeah.
For a long time at the same time.
Well, as I mentioned before, Jim Baier here at the dealership, we have 2 salespeople who have electric vehicles. So that's just kind of a testimony to the fact that because we're front and center with them, both of those employees found that, hey, this is a vehicle that really fits into my lifestyle and what I want to do.
Well, that is a great transition. Since we're getting close to the dealership, why don't we wrap up this segment and catch up with a couple of those gentlemen?
Great idea.
How you get the credit.
Thanks for riding shotgun with me. Please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. It's free.
Kip and Zach, thanks for being on the program. You guys, we just had a great ride, Alan and I did, in that 2024 Daytona Charger Scat pack, and there's something else.
Yep.
Track package, something like that.
Yep. Stage 2. Yep.
Yeah, it's awesome. You had something that you wanted to share as far as what Dodge is doing for folks that buy these new EV chargers.
Yeah, so they've got a pretty cool program right now on the 24 Charger Daytona. Any purchase you make or lease, you will receive a free level 2 charger. So that's a really nice added bonus. Makes it really convenient for charging at home. Leaves you with the only extra cost you really have to do is the install, which they make that process really easy as well. They have an app that you can download that gives you a quote over the phone. It's really convenient, really easy.
And those installation probably is anywhere from $700 to $1,500, depending on your electrician. And
yeah,
sort of thing.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on how much line you need ran, really. So
okay.
Yep.
And I understand, Kip, you actually drive an electric vehicle every day to work.
I do have a Ford Mustang Mach-E. It's a 2024. I absolutely love it. I think they're definitely going to catch on. The only kind of big fear I think people have right now is just the range of the vehicles, which are only going to get better. There's more than enough chargers out there. I think that's a common myth. that there's just not enough chargers out there. But yeah, I love mine. Just bought it probably 6-7 months ago, and no problems. It's been great.
What's the best thing about it?
Not having to go to the gas station is one of them. You've taken a ride in the Stage 2. It's pretty zippy.
Yes.
It's got some punch to it. So there's been some times where we take them out and have a little fun with them, but no, they're just very economical. There's not hardly any maintenance to them. I think a lot more people are gonna. I think it's gonna catch on. I really do.
And Zach, do you have one too? Did I understand that correctly?
I do.
Tell me about yours too.
So I've got one of the 24 Wagoneer S launch editions. So it's a pretty new vehicle. So there's not a lot, I think, of information out on them right now. But so far, I'm loving mine. I've had mine for about a month now, and
now they're a little bit smaller than the Wagoneers that most people are used to.
Yeah. The name is kind of confusing because when you hear Wagoneer, you think big expedition style size vehicle,
right.
But it's more of the size of like a Grand Cherokee, if anything. But yeah, they're pretty cool.
Now, do you have a lot of cargo room?
Yeah. The trunk space is about like a Grand Cherokee, so you've got about 3 feet in depth. I mean, it's
pretty good.
Plenty cargo space.
And how many people can ride in that?
They're five passenger vehicles, and they come loaded up with great features, heated and cooled front and rear seats. I mean,
wow. I got to ask Kip on your Mustang.
Yeah.
How many passengers can you have in that?
Yeah, mine's a 4-passenger, more of a sedan type style. It's a 4-door Mustang.
Okay.
It doesn't exactly look like the old school Mustangs or anything like that. It's got definitely a different a style to it. Mine is all-wheel drive, so it connects to the road beautifully, and I love it. It's the best car I've ever owned.
Wow,
easily.
That's a big statement.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. Alan and I were talking, especially after I stopped giggling when he threw my head into the back seat there a few times on acceleration. But I mean, we're at a point in time and technology where all this stuff can intermingle, and you can make a choice. You can have internal combustion, or you can have all EV, and they can coexist.
They most definitely can coexist, and we were talking about this just yesterday, actually. I mean, it's going to eventually it's going to catch on. It's going to become more and more popular once people see the benefits of it. It's scary at first, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think range has a lot to do with that, but if you're just driving around town or from, here to Burlington or Keokuk or anything like that, it's definitely the way to go. I mean, there's only so many times we can complain about the fuel prices.
Right. And, I think a lot that folks, consumers, and don't want to have things pushed down their throat.
No.
We're a capitalistic society, and we like to make our choices.
Yep.
And the most popular and the best usually win.
Yeah.
So it's good to have competition that makes everything rise to the top.
Yep.
So
for sure.
Thank you for your insight, gentlemen.
Yeah, no problem.
It's great to talk to someone that actually is part of their life.
Yeah.
That part of the experience is part of your life.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
No problem. Yours as well. Thank you.
Alan, before we wrap up this podcast episode, and it's been a great podcast episode, I've had a lot of fun. How much does this bad boy run?
So list price window sticker on this car from Dodge is $82,970. But there are some good incentives on the car. In fact, I was just looking online on jimbaier.com, and our MSRP of $82,970 has a discount of $14,580, including discount and incentives. So actually, this car's under 70 with all incentives, $68,390.
Wow.
Plus tax and fees.
I mean, that's still a lot of money. But when you compare it to other luxury cars,
yep,
it's pretty fair.
It is. And in a world where, I hate to say it, John, but most of your mainstream automobiles now are in that, SUVs, crossovers, and cars are all in that 50,000 and above mark.
Yeah.
And obviously with the ride and drive and some of the features on this car, it's impressive.
It's very impressive. And this is a 2024. What's strange about it is they never released any of these in 2024, did they?
Right. It was very much a 2025, but came to the table late in 24. Yep,
Right.
with a 24 model year.
That is incredible. If there was one thing I should have asked you about this car,
Yeah.
or that we should have discussed, because when I was going for a ride, I was giggling too much like a little kid.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were.
What should I have asked?
Oh, you know, we did cover a lot of the really good things. I think probably, you know, one of the best things for anybody who's out there and even considering is go test drive one. You know, that's probably one of the best things you can do with new technology where you're unfamiliar with it. You know, if you go all the way back to long before I got in the car business, when I was 18 or 19 years old, I used to go to the dealership all the time. In fact, I used to come to this dealership long before I worked here and just check out the vehicles. But I think that's a great question. You know, for somebody who's got questions about these cars, I think any dealer in America is going to be encouraged to help you answer some of those questions and take a test drive and get to know them.
Yeah, well, they definitely are here at Jim Baier in Fort Madison, Iowa.
Yep.
Well, Alan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to the other guys that have been on the episode as well.
Yep.
And thanks to everybody watching, but I'll wrap that up in a little bit. I really enjoyed this today.
Me too. Thank you, John.
I told you we were going to have fun. If you want to learn more, come down to Jim Baier here in Fort Madison, Iowa. Test drive that Charger right there, and you're going to have your eyes open to a whole new world if you haven't experienced EV yet. And EV by Dodge is pretty incredible. Thanks again to Alan, Kip, and Zach for the fun time and all the loads of information they shared with us. Thank you for watching. Thanks to my sponsors, Griner Auto Body, Car Doctor, McDonald Boneyard, Your Choice Family Restaurant, Girling Repair, B&B Propane and the family of Jet Stops, Dutch Market, and Coffee Talk. I'm your host, John Bain. Stay friendly, Southeast Iowa.